All right, everyone, thanks for joining. We'll start the Snake Day webinar now. Our Deputy Director of Special Projects, Wasim, will be hosting the webinar. Wasim, please go ahead and share your screen and start the webinar.
Thank you, Malvika. I'll just share my screen and then we can start. You see the screen, Malvika? Please, can you confirm?
Yes, it's visible.
All right. So, hello, everyone. My name is Wasim. First of all, happy World Snake Day to all of you. And thank you for connecting. I'm a conservation biologist, and like Malvika said, I'm Deputy Director for Special Projects at Wildlife SOS. One of the important projects I work on is handling the rapid response unit. It's a wildlife rescue hotline that we operate in Delhi and the surrounding areas. So we can start a little bit about the role that snakes play in our ecosystem. So we can call them as nature's pest control because they maintain the population of rodents. And they have a very important role because of this, because if the population of rodents also goes beyond a certain level, we can also risk another pandemic. So it's important that we have balance across all the topics so that there is no risk of these kind of pandemics happening again. But there are a lot of concerns when it comes to snakes. It's a protected species, and yet it is poached widely, and it is used for not just trade purposes but also for consumption. We are aware of a lot of people who are engaged in these kind of practices, and these poachers, they keep on trafficking different species of snakes, and there are networks operating across India. And we work very hard in collaboration with enforcement agencies on nabbing these people and processing them through law. There's also a lack of research in some areas when it comes to snakes. We still need to know more about their movement ecology, their ranging patterns, and some behavioral aspects. So there are threats, which is also related to a lot of attacks by other wildlife. But the most important component of this subject is the interaction that humans share with the snakes, especially in urban environments, in cities. So as you can see the statistic, it's 1.2 million people who died in the last 2 decades because of snake bites. And the pattern is primarily reported from Uttar Pradesh, then you have Andhra Pradesh and Bihar, but it also covers other states also, including Delhi. And there have been studies, different types of studies about these kind of situations when it comes to snake bites. The most important thing that we have to look at is that snake bites, it's actually a tropical disease, but it is still neglected. Unlike other forms of tropical diseases, just like malaria or cholera, these are notified diseases by WHO. But unfortunately, snake bites also, they are happening a lot. It is still a neglected tropical disease. And when it comes to city, the interaction increases more during the monsoon season. We are already 3 weeks into the monsoons now, and we are seeing a flood of rescue emergencies when it comes to snakes and monitor lizards. We have three, we can divide them into three categories. We have non-venomous, which is the majority of snakes. And then you have mildly venomous. So it's not fatal if they bite you. And then you have venomous. Very few snakes are there which are venomous. Talking about the common snake species found in Delhi and the surrounding areas, first of all, we have close to 40 species of snakes. And most of them, like I earlier said, are non-venomous. There is only 4 species which are venomous. The most common snake that we actually come across in Delhi is the rat snake. You can see it in the photo. It's a non-venomous snake. It's harmless. It's very commonly found, as the name suggests, rat snake. It feeds primarily on rat. That is the primary prey for this snake. Then you also have rock python. Sometimes rock python can look, sometimes people confuse it with a common sand boa, as you can see in this photo. But it's not the same species. They are two different species. Pythons grow way larger in size compared to the sand boa, common sand boa. Then you also have red sand boa. It's a very vulnerable species, red sand boa, because there are lots of superstitions attached to this particular snake, which I'm going to talk about in the coming slides. Then we have the kukri snake, a very fast moving snake. It's non venomous. So, all these snakes that I'm referring to right now are non venomous. More non venomous snake. Wolf snake is another very common snake found in Delhi. It sometimes looks like a worm, and it's very thin and looks like, some rope is lying on the floor, and some people can misunderstand it as a worm. And Then we also have the black-headed snake. It's not very common compared to wolf snake, rat snake, common sand boa, and other species I was referring to. And these are the big four. These are the venomous ones. These are the ones we need to be careful about. Spectacled cobra, common crate, Russell's viper, and soft-scaled viper. But out of these four, the most commonly encountered species of venomous snakes in Delhi area or the surrounding regions is the cobra. Crates are frequently less frequently sighted, but vipers are very rare. I would say in the past year or so, we have come across one or two cases of vipers in human habitat. So you can see that these snakes also tend to avoid human encounters. Just a photograph compilation of different snakes rescued by our rescue team across Delhi. And you can just see that the massive Indian rock python, it was rescued from a drainage. And there is a common sand boa, looks similar to a python, but not a python. It's way smaller. Then wolf snake, like I said, it's usually the size of a worm. Sometimes people misunderstand. So but again, it's a protected species. You should not be killing it thinking of it as a worm. And then the rat snake, and of course the red sand boa. So some facts about snakes. When you look at these facts, you should be able to understand that it's such a helpless species. They don't have limbs, they don't have maxilla joints, they don't have eyelids, they don't have ear openings. So you can just see that it's a very recent evolution, and this species is, not something we should be afraid of. And also they are ectotherm, they are cold-blooded, they rely on external sources of heat to regulate their body temperature. This is an important subject, the myths when it comes to snakes. A lot of people, they end up feeding milk to the snakes. We have had a lot of such calls where people call us and they say there is a snake in my house, and we say that we have dispatched our team. They will be reaching there shortly. When the team reaches the location, they see that the people have started their rituals, and they are feeding milk to the snake. It's a very dangerous thing. You should not be doing these things. First of all, it's a wild species. You should not be doing all these feeding things. And moreover, milk is something which can completely compromise the health of the snake. They are not supposed to be given milk. It's not something which they can digest. So it should be something we have to refrain from. These are a lot of times it actually is the case that when a snake, it enters human habitation, it is looking for maybe food, which is their prey, which is rats, or they are looking for some source of water. So it can be a very dehydrated snake when encountered by humans. So it's already under a lot of stress, and then there is a lot of fear because it has, sensed the presence of a human. So in these kind of encounters, the snake will try to avoid any kind of interaction. And when we end up, making that snake drink milk and all these rituals that start happening, it adds to the trauma of the snake. There are some more myths. The very commonly encountered myth is that they carry a diamond on their forehead. It's absolutely wrong. It's something which has been going on for, I would say, centuries. This is not the case. A lot of people we come across who still insist on, having snakes, so that they want to move a snake on the floor of their house, thinking that it will bring a lot of wealth. This is also a superstition. People feel this way, and that the people who are into poaching and trafficking of wildlife, they take advantage of these things. They see it as a money making business, and they end up supplying snakes to these kind of people to get money from them. It's all illegal. It's all prohibited since 1972 when the Wildlife Protection Act was passed in India, and still these cases do happen. And another myth, I think this is more like a movie kind of scenario, because we have consumed so many such movies in the past where there would be an actor and actress, and one will turn into snake and one will be killed and the other person will again try to take revenge or something like that. It's all just movie stuff. It's not reality. This does not happen. And the other thing, the two-headed snakes. There is a particular species of snake called red sand boa, which we discussed earlier in the list of common snakes. Red sand boa, I will just go back to that slide. So the red sand boa, the mouth area, the front area, and the tail area looks similar in this snake. And because of this similarity, people end up thinking that it has two heads. And it's more like a visual illusion. It's more like an optical thing. It's not a reality. It's just that the patterns and the bands look very similar. So, and it's something that the snake uses to basically confuse its prey. It can show the tail area thing and give the impression to the prey that this is the mouth, and then it can attack from the other side. So this is basically how a red sand boa can survive in the wild and hunt using this particular illusion. There are multiple precautions that we have to avoid because we are a tropical region, and we have multiple cases of snake bites, especially during the rainfall season. It's more in the rainfall season because during monsoons, when the rain happens, the grounds are flooded. All the burrows and holes in which the snakes are living, they are filled with water. So the snakes are forced out. They have to abandon these holes and they have to come out, and because of this encounters with humans increases substantially, and sometimes it can lead to snake bites. So it's important for people who have a higher chance of such encounters. These are the people who are basically in fragmented habitats, people who have green patches or parks around them, parks where there is tall grass, because in tall grass it's not easy to sight a snake. So these are the kind of people who have a higher chance of such encounters. So some precautions that they can follow, especially during the 3-4 months of monsoons: wear protective gear, especially the shoes. The boots that you wear should be at least till the height of your ankle, so that, because the bite usually happens around the ankle area, so you have to cover at least till there. And then carry a flashlight, especially when you are out in the dark. Then you should carry a flashlight so that you don't end up by mistake stepping over a snake, because if you do that, there is a very strong possibility the snake is going to attack you thinking that I am being attacked. So the snake is going to attack in self-defense. So of course, we should not also on purpose disturb a snake. Many a times it does happen that people take out their phone when they see a snake and they start making videos out of it. And they will, in all this documentation process, they, first of all, it adds a lot of stress to this to the snake. You are again and again coming in front of the snake. It is going to turn into a threat for the snake, and it can lead to attacks. Understanding the snake bite is also important. Like I said earlier, snake bites happen only when a snake is um, hurt or it has been provoked. It's mostly when it has been provoked. Otherwise, they don't bite you. If you look at the markings for the venomous and non-venomous, in non-venomous, the gap is not really there. it is scattered on a very small area. But when it comes to venomous snakes, when they insert the fangs in the human body, there is a gap, there is some spacing. It's a proper pattern that can be seen in these kind of bites. However, most of the bites, they are so messy that it's not very easy to be sure from looking at the bite that is this a venomous snake or a non-venomous snake. You need trained eyes for these things, so don't end up self-medicating or self you know concluding that okay, this is the type of bite, so this is venomous or non-venomous. It's always advised, recommended to please consult a specialist. So some simple protocols that can be followed when it comes to snake bite first aid. There are ways to apply a bandage on the area, and it should be done in a way that is not very tight, but unnecessary movements can be avoided. So it's basically a support that you are doing, providing a cushion to that area. Why walking or running should be avoided? Because when you engage in these high metabolic rate activities, your blood circulation increases. Now if you have venom in your blood, it's flowing through your blood, the faster is your circulation of blood, the higher is the circulation rate of the venom as well. It will spread in your body, so you would want to avoid something like this. So that is one reason why we have to try to be very calm when it comes to snake bite. You should not panic, because again, it will create a reaction where your heart is going to end up pumping more and more blood, and there will be more and more circulation happening, and it can be fatal. So again, a lot of people, they end up sucking the wound. This is also something which comes from a lot of ancient movies where people would end up sucking the wound, thinking that it will get the venom out. First of all, it does not work, and the second thing is it ends up having a situation where even the person sucking the wound can end up sucking some venom also. So it becomes two people in a fatal state. So these things need to be avoided. Don't start taking aspirin thinking that it will cure the pain. It's not like a headache that we are having. It's a snake bite. It has to be treated in a proper manner. Snake venoms are made available in various hospitals, and these are maintained, especially in places which are close to forest ranges. So, as a precaution, even the forest department engages with the local communities and the community hospitals and supplies them with these kind of things, because they are aware that this is a snake habitat. So, all these precautions are taken, and we also see a lot of awareness workshops are done, especially close to the monsoon season, where people are made aware that okay, now we are going to witness more of snakes, so we have to be careful. And here is this anti-venom which is made available in these particular community hospitals. So in case of any unfortunate incident, people can access these resources. But there are two types of antivenoms which are available. There is neurotoxin and there is hemotoxin. Neuro is basically for the nerves, because some venoms, some snake bites, it affects your nervous system, and in some cases it mixes with your blood. So that's why I said that it's important for a trained doctor to do treatment for these things. Of course, early treatment is the best way possible to handle this kind of cases. It should not be delayed. Unfortunately, we still get reports of snake bites happening, especially in village areas, remote locations, where people lose life just because there was a delay. People, get bitten by snake, and then they just delay the process of shifting that person to the hospital, and it just leads to fatalities. People end up losing their lives because of this. Now, the ancient tradition of snake charmer and how it is illegal. Uh, this has been happening for centuries. Snake charmers, basically, these are the people who come from different communities, Nath, Gulia, and jogis, different communities. These are like gypsies. They move around and they live in tents, and they still are there, around us in various areas. And a lot of time people encounter snake charmers at traffic signals where they are using snakes to beg for money. So all this is actually illegal. It's illegal under the Wildlife Protection Act of India. Since 1972, it is illegal, but still it is happening, unfortunately. But it's also important for people to know that how these snakes are poached by these people from the wild, especially the cobra. What they do is they remove the fangs. The fangs are what they need. The cobras need to inject venom in the prey. So the fangs are what they need to capture their prey. Without the fangs, they can't hunt. They can't capture the prey. Unfortunately, what happens is that the fangs are removed when the snake charmer captures the cobra from the wild. They remove it thinking that it won't be able to attack them when they're using the cobra for performances on the street. And when these performances keep happening after a certain period of time, since the snake is without a fang, it starts losing its strength, and it's abandoned somewhere, and it can't hunt anymore because there are no fangs, and it ends up dying because of starvation. So you can imagine, it has been used to make money, and once money has been made, the snake is abandoned, it is thrown away, it does not have fangs anymore to protect itself or hunt, and then it dies because of starvation. So we have been engaging a lot with the people from these communities, working very hard to bring an end to this practice. They've had success in reforming so many of these snake charmers who actually are transformed into rescuers who work as part of our rescue hotlines, and they assist in rescue operations not just for snakes but other wildlife also. Other threat that we have seen with reptiles, not just in India, it's a widespread worldwide phenomena. The snake skin being used for make a lot of leather goods. There is some level of awareness which is happening, but there is a scope for more. There are still a lot of fashion labels which are using the snake skin for making products, and they call it or market it as premium products. It's all something which should be stopped, because we need this species to maintain the trophic level, to maintain the ecosystem, to control the pest population. It should not be transformed into a wallet or a purse. It should be used, it should not be used for these things. It should be only kept for what nature brought it to us. So, like I was saying earlier, there are laws in place to protect snakes. They are not pests. Snakes are many a times considered or misunderstood as pests, and people end up calling pest control agencies whenever they encounter any snake in their homes. What pest control agency does, unfortunately, is that they mislead people into uh, treating their homes with very harmful hazardous chemicals, and they end up killing the snakes. They use different types of acids and very dangerous fumes which suffocate the animal, and it's so deadly, the animal dies, and this is how they eliminate the species. So these illegal things are prohibited under the act, because snakes are a protected species. Just like we have elephants and tigers and leopards, snakes also have protection under the law. So if these things happen, then it's a punishable offense. If someone is involved in killing snakes, it's a punishable offense. So I have rescue units. We have rescue units in Delhi. We have our team in Agra, in Vadodara city of Gujarat, and even in Kashmir, we have a rapid response unit now. Our team is equipped with all the necessary gear, protective equipments, snake hooks, so that there is minimum human contact, and so that the animal is as comfortable and stress free as possible. So, and of course, there are cotton bags. We use color codes for different types of snakes. If it is a venomous snake, we will use a red colored bag, or if it is a non-venomous, it can be black or green colored bag. so that we can be sure that the snake in this particular bag is a venomous one or non-venomous one. So it adds to our safety protocol that we have to follow. Some of the cases of rescues that we have seen, a very simple case would be a snake in somebody's lawn or backyard, or someone's the open area in front of their home. So these are very simple rescues. The people can just keep an eye on the snake from a distance, safe distance. They can just report it to the rescue staff. Our team will reach the location, carefully rescue the snake, and release it in a natural habitat, which is away from the human presence. This is a rat snake, but not all snake rescues are very easy, straightforward rescues. The worst places for rescuing a snake can be inside a car, as you can see in the photo, or it can also be inside an AC. This is a python. It's inside the coil of the main unit of the AC, and these are very challenging operations because the snake, is coiled inside, and there are so many electrical wires, and there is a major risk of the snake getting injured. So we have to be very patient in these kind of operations. Slight mishandling can be dangerous for the snake because it's a very delicate species, and any mishandling is something which can be a problem. This is happening a lot as well. Snakes end up getting trapped in nets. A lot of times people install these nets to control the movement of birds, especially pigeons. And when a snake is passing through that area, the snake can end up getting stuck in that net. This is another case of rat snake. It was trapped in a net. And in this case also, because it's completely trapped in the net, the scales were damaged because of this. So once we have rescued a snake, our work does not stop there. We also have to release it in a natural habitat. So when we rescue a snake, it is kept under observation. We have to monitor it to ensure that the health is okay, and we have to feed it while it is under observation. And only after our veterinary officer has given a go ahead that okay, now this particular snake is fit for release in the wild, it is released back in the natural habitat. This is one of the video. This is one of the video of a rock python. It was documented during documentary we did with Nat Geo. It's called Jungle Heroes. So maybe if possible, you should please check it out because it covers a lot of our other projects, not just Rapid Response Unit in Delhi. So these were some of the rescues that we have done and how the release finally happens in the natural habitat. The way forward that we see is that because we are saying that the human wildlife conflict it's bound to increase as the population expands and the habitats become more fragmented. So it is important to come up with a coexistence mechanism where we also need to ensure that people don't have the fear of the species, not just snakes, but any kind of wildlife. So we would like to work on expanding our presence in other cities also. So we can work with people and raise the awareness and also provide this essential service of rescuing snakes and any kind of wildlife which is in a state of stress or sick or injured. And we also want to work towards ensuring that there is availability of anti-venom kits in highly vulnerable areas. And of course, the first line responders, the front line staff of the forest department and other volunteers who are involved in these type of rescue operations need more training. So we are happy to collaborate with more and more of such agencies so that we can build capacity in the country and ensure that people get aware about different species of snakes, other wildlife. We share the landscape with them, and the best way forward to have a coexistence kind of mindset. Thank you. This is our Facebook page. It's the Wildlife SOS Reptiles group. We post a lot of interesting facts about snakes on this group, so that we can help people gain more awareness. And we also share a lot of rescue stories, interesting rescues, and various types of precautions that can be followed by people to ensure that there is no negative encounter with reptiles. So I would urge all of you to please visit this page, follow this page for regular posts and updates. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Wasim, for presenting this PPT on Snake Day. And I will end the meeting now. In case anybody has any questions, they can drop it in the Q&A box. Otherwise, they can email us at wildside@wildlifesos.org. I shall just add that to the chat box so you guys can see it, but it's the same email that's there on the poster for the Snake Day webinar as well. Okay, a few people are asking about internship opportunities. As of now, we don't have a lot of internship opportunities open, but you can always come and volunteer at one of our centers in Agra or Bangalore. Otherwise, you can email us at Wildside for any other queries. Let's see if we have any other questions. We can wait for 2 minutes. And if we don't have any other questions, I'll end the meeting. Wasim, there's a lot of questions about volunteering or internship or what we can do to help snakes. Do you have any inputs on that?
See, if you are interested in volunteering, we have a proper program for volunteering opportunities in Agra, because we run two big projects there with the bears and elephants out there, and we can explore opportunities for people to gain awareness and get an understanding of how conservation works. Direct contact with reptiles, especially rescued reptiles, is not preferred because, first of all, it's a wild species. So we want to ensure that there is minimum human contact. But we can, of course, do other types of interactive sessions during such volunteering opportunities where people can gain more and more understanding. And of course, when it comes to working directly with animals, then we will also need to engage with the forest department. But do drop an email to the email ID Malavika has shared with all of you, because then we can start exploring opportunities. There is no shortage of opportunities. It's we also are looking for dedicated people who can help with care of rescued animals. So it can be feeding, or it can be helping with medical care of the animals as well. If you have a medical background, if you are a veterinary student also, you can engage.
Somebody is asking whom to call if you encounter a snake in an area where the Wildlife SOS team is not present.
You can simply call the 100 number. You can call the police control room, tell them that there is a snake in your area. They will have a directory, they will have local contacts, they will have contacts of the forest department. The forest department will send a team to safely rescue the snake. That's not an issue. Just call the 100 number. If you can't connect with anyone in the forest department, 100 number, the police department will get you in touch with the right person.
Right. Thank you everyone for attending the webinar. We will share a recording with all of you. I'll end it now. And you can email us at Wildside in case there are more queries. Goodbye.